I recorded the very first episode of the HerBusiness Podcast back in 2009. And let me tell you, I had no idea what I was doing. It was such a new thing then, and I didn't know the first thing about which microphone to use or how the clips might get edited together. And don't get me started on actually figuring out the theme music. But I knew that even if the techie side was something we'd have to learn, there were so many stories of women business owners that deserved to be shared. Women who didn't all necessarily have huge platforms of their own, women who were making major moves, women who had unlocked the perfect balance between work and life. And I was surrounded then, and I still am, by women who are each incredibly unique, inspiring, hilarious, brave, daring, intelligent, strong, resilient, and so much more. So this podcast became a place to share their stories and my story, and a place for women business owners to speak directly to other women business owners, to inspire one another and to educate one another and to build a community. And guess what? We are now 300 episodes in. Crazy. We have been able to feature hundreds of women and their accomplishments on this podcast, to educate so many on a wide variety of business topics and personal development topics, and to share both knowledge and stories and also a whole lot of heart. And I'm incredibly proud of what this podcast has become. And I want to thank you, whether this is the very first episode you're tuning into or if you've been around since the days when the audio was questionable. Thank you so much. You are the reason we get to keep producing this podcast. You are the reason we're able to interview amazing women. And you are the reason that we have been able to produce 300 episodes of the HerBusiness Podcast. Okay, now to celebrate, I have a real treat for you. If you want to know what it is, just keep listening. Hello, and welcome to the HerBusiness Podcast. My name is Susie Daphnis. I'm your host and the CEO at HerBusiness. And my goal is to bring together women business owners from all walks of life in all industries and niches to come together to share knowledge, stories, and community, which is exactly what we're doing in this very special episode. To celebrate 300 episodes of the HerBusiness Podcast, I have gone deep into the archives and I pulled out 5 interviews from some of our all-stars. Now, these are women business owners who have become trailblazers, leaders in their industries, extremely successful entrepreneurs, authors, thought leaders who have changed the game in business and personal growth. If you're ready to know who they are, here's who you're going to be hearing from. Amy Porterfield, a powerhouse in online business and digital courses, but likely I don't need to tell you that. She has a very big profile. Today she's going to be talking to us about breaking free from limiting beliefs and stepping into our success. And Marie Forleo, who is the owner of one of Inc. 500's fastest growing companies, a #1 best-selling author, and someone Oprah named as a thought leader for the next generation. And the amazing Danielle Laporte, a visionary in the world of personal development and leadership, and an expert in redefining success by aligning your business with your heart and your values. My friend Kim Kiyosaki, an investor, entrepreneur, and financial educator who has made waves all around the world. She's going to be talking to us about the importance of financial independence and making bold moves in business. And finally, Gabby Bernstein, a multi-New York Times best-selling author and personal development expert who is known internationally for her work. Now, each of these women will be bringing unique bits of wisdom that can be applied to your business today. Now, clearly, we have an incredible show lined up for you, so let's dive right in with Amy Porterfield. Now, Amy Porterfield is a name that likely needs no introduction if you have any ties to the world of online business and digital marketing. She has helped thousands of entrepreneurs turn their knowledge into profitable online courses, build high-converting email lists, run Facebook ads, and step into their roles as business leaders. But I think what truly sets Amy apart is her transparency. She openly shares the struggles that she's faced and the mindset shifts she's had to make to build her multi-million-dollar business. And she knows what it feels like to doubt yourself, to feel imposter syndrome creeping in, and the awful feeling of playing small when you know you're meant for more. To Amy, changing your thoughts changes everything.
What derails us from getting to that potential is that we actually believe what we're thinking. And I didn't know that this was a thing until recently when I started to really pay attention. But just because we have a thought like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, or I don't know enough, or people are going to think I'm a fraud. Just because we have that thought, which I have regularly, doesn't mean that we have to believe it. And I've learned along the way that we can change our thought like that. We are the only ones responsible for our thoughts. And so anything that comes our way, we feel a certain way, we think a certain way, we get to control that.
Our thoughts directly influence our actions. Now, this isn't some woo-woo concept. It's backed by study after study after study. If you think negatively about your future, about your life, about yourself, about your business, you are more likely to act in a way that corresponds with that outlook. But if you can manage to shut down those thoughts we all have, you can start shifting how you think. You can stop thinking you're an imposter. You can stop limiting yourself to playing small. And you realize just how much potential is there inside you that's waiting to come out. Because playing small might be holding you and your business back.
Playing small for a lot of my students looks like, I'm not going to do a webinar and send out Facebook ads and really promote my digital course. I'm just going to send a few emails or post about it on social. Or it might be, I'm not going to do live video. I'm going to do a recorded video because I don't want to show up live and be that vulnerable and make some mistakes and kind of look like an idiot. So I'm just going to record it just in case. So those little small plays turn out to be, you are playing small.
Now, I love this so much. Why? Because I have had the exact thought time and time again that I'll kind of look like an idiot if I go live right now, or if I record this reel, or I try this new strategy. And I bet you have too. Now, this thought process comes from our brains trying to protect us. It sends us these messages, these thoughts, because going out of your lane or trying something new can be genuinely terrifying. It comes with some risk. It comes with vulnerability. And if you've been playing small, I bet that you've had some issues around vulnerability. I know I have. Or issues around taking up too much space or being seen to be too much. And letting your peers and your friends see that you're trying, that can be scary too. But there's nothing wrong with actually going for it. There's nothing wrong with taking up space and doing something big.
I stopped apologizing for being a big deal. Like, oh, it's not a big deal. I just got lucky, or yeah, I have a great team behind me. No, I do have a great team, but I also create a great product that comes from my mind. And so I had to own it. And we have this motto on my team to own your stuff. Sometimes we replace stuff with the other S word, but if you own it, you've got it. It's yours. And you will show up as though you were proud of that.
Own your stuff. I love that. It's something we do inside the HerBusiness Network as well. We call it tooting your own horn. And each week we ask our members about what they've accomplished, what amazing thing they did that they deserve recognition for. And sometimes we're so reluctant to ask. But here's the thing. As business owners, we so quickly move on from one thing to the next. We get a new client, great, we move on to the next search for a client. We have a successful product or service launch. Great. Now we'll get started on the next campaign. But we need to stop and celebrate ourselves. We need to get comfortable saying, yes, I did that thing and I knocked it out of the damn park. Now, doing this really helps with something else, because as business owners, we don't often get the kudos or the accolades from our team or our friends or our family. Now, not because they're not proud of us, but because they likely don't get what it's like to run a business. Now, your partner probably doesn't get, unless they're in business, why getting over 50% open rate on your email campaign is a big deal. And your friends don't know what a lead magnet is, so they don't really care how many downloads you got. And your kids likely don't know why it's such an accomplishment that you just did your first Facebook Live. But you know who knows? Your community knows what it's like. Other women business owners get it. That is why finding a community and tooting your own horn, owning your stuff, is so essential. Next up is someone who has built a career doing something I'm very passionate about, and that is helping people unlock their full potential. I'm talking about Marie Forleo. Marie is a very well-known figure in the world of business and personal development, and she is phenomenal. She's the founder of B School. She's a renowned speaker, and she's the best-selling author of Everything is Figureoutable. And today we're talking about some of the core lessons that she teaches in her book about creating success on your terms. Now, Marie is all about empowering us to shift from feeling stuck to feeling in control of our lives. And while we can't control everything that life and business throws at us, there are always pieces that we can control. And when we focus on those pieces, we can unlock our creativity, our drive, and our ability to move forward.
Anytime, I know for me in my own life, anytime I start assigning the outcomes of my life to things or people or forces outside of myself, I'm in a losing proposition. I can't do anything. And whenever any human being starts to feel helpless and powerless against their circumstances, no good outcomes come from that. Never. And when we start to go, okay, I can't control everything, but what are the things that I can control? All of a sudden, you get more creative. All of a sudden, you feel like there's a sense of hope and possibility, and you start flexing all of the gifts that you have inside to actually make a difference. And I think that's where life gets exciting. And of course, business.
I think I speak for you, for me, for everyone listening when I say that each of us has had those moments. The, oh my gosh, nothing is going to plan and I feel like I'm failing moments. Those moments. I know I have certainly had plenty of them. And Marie is so right. We can't necessarily avoid having these moments. We can't always have control over everything we want to control. But we can hold on to the things that we do have control over and use those as our lifeline when things get crazy. I also love this because we can so easily fall into the trap of feeling powerless and only focusing on the stuff that we don't control, blaming the market, the algorithm, the economy, our family, the competitors, or just waiting for the perfect timing. But that is all a losing game. The moment we shift our focus to what we can control, we find our groove again. Focusing on your abilities, what you can control, also lets you plan for the future. It lets you see what success could really look like for you down the road.
There are so many different strategies for success. There are so many different things you could put your attention on, your time, your energy, your effort towards. And if we don't know what you ultimately want or why it's important, you're going to be spread too thin all over the place. You're going to be like scattershot. I'm going to do this. I'm going to post on social media all the time. And I'm going to go out and give speeches. And then I'm going to try and do my own show. Then I'm going to do my own podcast. But if we don't have that clear, defined dream for you, you're going to get burnt out and feel like you're spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere.
Yes, yes, and yes. How many times have we all felt like we're doing all the things, posting on social media, emailing, launching, working with clients, blah, 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 but it still doesn't feel like we're moving forward? That's because, as Marie said, if you don't have a clear, defined vision of what success looks like for you, you'll just keep chasing every shiny strategy that comes up. So defining what you want, what you really, really want, as the Spice Girls said to us, why it matters and what actually moves the needle in your business is key. That's why we work on our vision. That's why at HerBusiness we work on our 12-month vision and then our quarterly vision and then take action towards those. Because once you know what you want, the next challenge is actually to go for it. Pushing past the fear, the hesitation, and knowing what to say yes to, so that you're moving towards the right opportunities.
Whenever we're presented with a new opportunity to grow, to play a bigger game, to perhaps get closer to that goal that we defined ourselves as success, we're going to feel some fear. Naturally, though, it's easy to get confused. Well, is this just normal fear that I need to move through because this is going to allow me to grow? Or is this my intuition saying, this is not a good opportunity. You need to step away because this is actually going to take you off track, not put you on track. And this is my favorite way to help people distinguish the difference between fear and intuition. And it requires that you actually tap into your body. So the next time you find yourself facing an opportunity and you're unsure, do this. Get really clear on what this opportunity is. Make sure you take away all electronics, no distractions, no barking dogs or other humans. Close your eyes and ask yourself this question. Does the idea of saying yes to this opportunity make me feel expansive or contracted? In the nanosecond after you ask yourself that question, genuinely, your physical body is going to have a response. So expansive might be like, your physical body moving forward in space, your chest opening up. Even if you're terrified, there is something that says yes, it feels bigger in your body. What is contracted like? A pit in your stomach, a sense of dread or anxiety. You physically just feel yourself shrinking. You have to trust that. That is your intuition working its hardest to lead you in the direction of maximum joy and growth.
This is gold. I know we've all had those moments where an opportunity comes up and suddenly we feel paralyzed. Should I do it? What if it's the wrong move? What if I fail? But Marie gives us such a simple, powerful way to check in on ourselves. Expansive versus contracted. The feeling in your body that tells you whether something is a scary but right move or it's something you should steer clear of. This is such a great lesson. Now, if you haven't already checked it out, go grab a copy of Marie's Everything is Figure-Outable book for more incredible insights like these. It's page after page of these great insights. It's one of my favorite reads, and I'll have that linked to in the show notes. Now I'd like you to hear from another all-star who knows all about shifting perspectives and redefining what success really is. Danielle Laporte has a way of making you rethink everything you thought you knew about success. She's the kind of person who will challenge why you're chasing your goals, whether it's for true fulfillment or just for the sake of achieving something. And let's be honest, in the world of business, it's really easy to get caught up in the next milestone, the next revenue goal, the next big launch, to want to 10x it, hack it, do the things to it. But what Danielle teaches us is that success isn't just about reaching the next big thing. It's about stopping and saying, hey, is that actually what I want? Because if you reach your goal and it doesn't feel that good, does it really count as success at all?
Ego-centered goals, when you reach them, you don't rest. There's that quality of like, got it. Sometimes you even forget to celebrate. It doesn't sink in. And the questions come almost the same day of like, okay, what now? Bigger, brighter, faster. There's some form of regret. You reach the goal and you think, I should have had a stretch goal. I would have gone farther. I didn't think big enough. I should have been in a 10x mode. Or you get the goal, and I've had this conversation hundreds of times because a lot of research on this, and there's that emptiness. And that is a critical point. If people will get more introspective when they feel that emptiness, then you get some beautiful, heart-melting, sad, empowering insights. Like I've talked to the football trophy winner who realized he just stayed in the league to have his father say he loved him. I've talked to beyond dozens of women who just wanted love from a parent, had some kind of sister wound, never feeling like they belonged, wanted to be in a position of leadership as a woman so that they could create, like subconsciously almost creating community. And they crush it, they hack it, they slay it, they get the thing, they sell, they get that, they have their first launch. And all the numbers, like, looks great on paper, but there's that emptiness. And that is such a massive recipe for burnout.
Now, I know that I've experienced this plenty of times throughout my time as a business owner, pushing and grinding until I feel absolutely exhausted at the finish line, and at that point, not even sure that I'm excited about where I ended up. So it turns out that hustling for the sake of hustling is not how we feel successful. And Danielle reminds us that it's not just about how we work, it's about how we can show up in every part of our lives. That is what success really looks like.
The question then went from how do I want to feel, and using that, designing my life and business, to what do I want to embody? And that's the question I would offer to everybody. So do you want to be radiant and resilient no matter what? Do you want to be abundant and compassionate? Do you want to be kind? Do you want to be joyful no matter what? Okay, great. Then your life has to work around that.
So it's how I want to show up, who I want to be in the world. Am I getting that right?
Yes. And in integrity. So it's, you have to think that way, you have to talk that way, and you have to be that way. So are your thoughts matching your speech? Is the tone of your speech how you talk to yourself and your team, etc.? Is that what you want to embody? Is that joy? Is that loving kindness? And then how does it show up in your business plan?
And this one really hit me because it's easy to separate our business selves and our life selves. Work, work, work. And then life, life, life. And we can see them as two different parts of ourselves. And certainly they are, but they are so interconnected. Who you want to show up as is the embodiment in every aspect of your day. So what do you want to embody? How do you want to show up? It's such a powerful question, because when we shift our focus from just doing to being, our entire approach to business changes, and it sets us up to deal with any obstacles that are in our path.
I've been hearing a lot of murmur right now about fear of the future and the economics and politics and health things and all the things. And I just want to remind everybody in this space that the future is not written. It is untold. And it really, the quality of our thoughts influences what we're going to magnetize into our life. And to really concentrate on nourishing thoughts, you get to choose your thoughts. And one question I can leave everybody with is, when you have the awareness to notice your thoughts, just like, oh, this is this repeating thing, this story, this great thing, this negative thing, this positive thing. Ask yourself what might happen, just might. What might happen if you allow that thought to continue? And that is a great way to design your day and your life.
I love this episode because we are highlighting women in such different niches, and we can pull these nuggets of gold from each of them and apply them to our lives and our businesses. Now, we've covered some big picture mindset topics. Now I want to get into some more hard-hitting kind of facts, and I can't think of anyone better to talk about financial freedom and wealth building than Kim Kiyosaki. Now, Kim is an entrepreneur, she's an investor and an educator, and she's spent years helping women break free from financial dependence. She is all about ownership, owning assets, owning your decisions, and most of all, owning your financial future. Because there is a big difference between making money and creating wealth. And one of the biggest lessons Kim teaches is that many women fall into the trap of being self-employed rather than being business owners. And that is a huge distinction that we'll explore.
A self-employed woman is someone who works for themselves. She works for herself. So she could be a consultant, a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer. They have a practice. And one of the big differences is when she goes on vacation, so does her income. Especially if she's like working hourly wage or working per hour, or the business is dependent on her. If she's a consultant, everybody wants her services, not somebody else's. So one of the big distinctions is, as long as you're self-employed, you have to keep working and working. And I don't care how much you love your work, there's going to come a point where you're going to get tired. Right. I really don't want to work anymore. The business owner, on the other hand, she has people and systems that work for her. The litmus test there is, if she goes on vacation, ideally when she comes back, the business is running better without her. And we've gone through a gamut at Rich Dad where we started, of course, as self-employed. And it's probably the toughest jump to go from self-employed to business owner, right? Because there's you've got to trust other people. One of the self-employed problems is that they tend not to trust people. Nobody can do it better than me. And so they stay stuck because they don't hire people better than them or smarter than them in other areas. And so they stay stuck in this quadrant called self-employed. But the business owner, she has to rely on other people, on systems. She has to get out of her own way in order for the company to grow. And I know a woman right now I could talk about who did not get out of her own way, and she was micromanaging everything. And her business, she was a graphic designer, marketing company. She couldn't take that leap to hire people smarter than her and to trust people to run with her baby. So she never did make that leap. But I think once you make it, that's where real freedom lies.
I love this so much. And if you know anything about me or her business, you know that this is something we really work hard to help women achieve. Your income and your revenue does not need to be solely dependent on you and your ability to work all the hours every day. You deserve to take time off, to step away from your business, to have your business work for you, and trusting that while you're away from your business, that it will carry on seamlessly. It's one of the hardest bits about running a business, and it takes time and skills to manage that balance. And P.S., if you're looking for resources and training on this specific topic, definitely grab a spot on the HerBusiness Network waitlist so that you can be notified when we open the doors. This is a huge part of what we do inside the network. Now, continuing on the topic of money, let's hear Kim's advice about this thing we hear all the time, that we have to live below our means in order to grow our wealth.
We've all heard it. The common advice of live below your means. Everybody says, live below your means. Right? Live below. You don't spend extravagantly, live below your means. I think that's probably the worst advice you could give somebody, is because what that does is it puts you in a little box and it says, you only make this much and you're not going to make more, so you better live below it. And it kills your creativity. It kills your spirit because you're already being told you cannot. And so instead of living below your means, we say expand your means. And this applies to business. This applies to investing, is how can I expand? How can I? Oh, I can't afford that. Well, how could I afford that? I want this I really want this new piece of equipment for my business, but we can't afford it. How can I afford it? And start asking yourself that. I can't do this. How could you do that? If every time you watching, that's part of the personal growth, Susie, is watching that little voice.
That's that in a game.
Yeah, all the time. And every time you watch your voice, and you'll hear the negativity, and you'll hear the I can'ts and I shouldn'ts and all of this stuff, watching that little voice. And every time that little negative thing says I can't, or I can't afford it, or I don't know how, ask yourself, how could you?
This is such an essential concept, particularly for women. I think we are used to being stifled. When we have an idea or a spark, we can extinguish it so fast. We put these limiting beliefs on ourselves that end up hurting us and holding us back. How much would you be able to grow if you listened to that little entrepreneurial voice inside of you that says, hey, let's try this new thing? How could you go? How far could you run with that idea if you don't immediately snuff the flame out? It takes a certain amount of belief in yourself and your abilities to have that next big idea and then to take action on it.
Einstein said, nothing happens until something moves. And that goes back to, you've got to go do something. So I know whenever I get stuck, or whenever I'm in confusion, or whenever my business feels like it's not doing something, I go do something. I go make phone calls, or I go out and do something, which kind of goes along with the second thing that you and I know is so important, and that's the beauty of making mistakes. We make mistakes every single day, and if anything holds somebody back, it's that they're afraid of making mistakes. Because we go to school, right? We go to school and you're punished if you make a mistake. You got the wrong answer, you get an F. Or you don't memorize what you're supposed to memorize and you get a check mark and all of this stuff. So we come out of school scared to death of making a mistake, because for all these years we've been told don't make mistakes. It goes exactly opposite of how we learn as human beings, is to make mistakes. So I would say for women out there, just get comfortable making a lot of mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes over and over again, but make the mistake, learn from the mistake, and then take what you learn into your business.
There it is. Mistakes are part of your process. And if you're scared to fail, you can end up motionless, stuck. And failure, much as I wish it was different, is part of the journey. The real evaluation of success is in the motion. It's our ability to keep taking that next step, to keep moving forward. You make a mistake, you learn, you keep going. That brings us to someone who knows all about moving forward with trust and alignment, and that's Gabby Bernstein. Now, Gabby is a name that I'm sure needs no introduction if you're at all familiar with the world of personal development and spirituality. She's an absolute powerhouse when it comes to teaching people how to manifest their path, how to align with their highest potential, and how to create a life and business that feels good, not just one that looks good on paper. And one of the biggest principles Gabby teaches is the power of being a super attractor.
Being a super attractor means that your primary intention is to feel good. And understanding that when you feel good, you are a magnet for what you want, for more of what you want. The whole book is about getting in that connection and that alignment so that you can live with ease and live with certainty and know that when you're in alignment that you are a super attractor.
The book that I'm speaking with Gabby about is called Super Attractor, and I highly encourage you to check it out. More recently, though, Gabby published another book called Self-Help, This Is Your Chance to Change Your Life, which is an amazing read. It's one of my favorite books from the last 12 months, and it's a really great way to look at the deep-seated beliefs you might be holding on to and the different aspects of ourselves that sometimes sabotage us. It's very, very powerful. I encourage you to check it out. Now, I love talking about how harmful the I'll be ready when concept is to our growth because we never really feel ready for the next steps. Many of us, often hold on to that seed of self-doubt and that imposter syndrome. But like we talked about earlier with Kim, it's the act of moving towards something, despite the doubts, that is the true measure of a successful business owner. And we have to learn how to control the fears we have, to acknowledge the doubt, face it, and then keep moving forward anyway.
We're in business and we want to create something in our world and we want to offer something great and be seen often. That fear comes from a place of feeling as though we're not good enough, a feeling of unworthiness, like I said, a need to be seen to feel good enough, a need to be successful to feel good enough. So these patterns are root cause conditions are based in the past. They're based in our early days. What was mirrored back to us? What were the stories that we heard? What were the experiences that we had? What was it that was taught to us in like I said, mirroring from our parents, or also just directly spoken to us and taught to us? So a lot of the work around releasing fear is not doing something. It's actually undoing. It's an undoing. It's a unlearning. The practices in all of my books are about unlearning that fear and remembering that love and that magnitude and that greatness of who you are.
And fear is such a sneaky thing. It creeps in at the oddest times. And for me, fear would pop up even when I was doing my very best on paper. When I was running multiple businesses, I was flying all over the world to catch meetings, I was speaking at conferences, fear still followed me around. I couldn't outrun it no matter how hard I tried. And so we need to be able to face those fears rather than running from them. And it starts with addressing the deep-rooted beliefs, as Gabby speaks about. Instead of resisting the fear, we can learn to live with it.
Super Attractor is an excellent book for business owners because the whole book is about how we can do less and attract more, and it's about taking action from spiritual alignment. There's an entire chapter about taking spiritually aligned action. What that means is recognizing step one, how is my desire backed with love and service? Okay. So am I trying to get those clients because I want to feel good enough, or am I trying to get those clients or am I attracting those clients because I'm here to serve them, because I care about them? And then second step is to make sure that there's faith behind it, that you trust that everything is happening in the exact order and time that it's necessary, that you know that there is an energy or an invisible force beyond your physical sight that is supporting you. And then when you're in that place of service, faith, and trust, you're in what I would call spiritual alignment. You're connected to inspiration and a higher power of your own understanding. The third step is to take action from that place. Whenever you take an action from that place of inspiration and service and love and faith, you can be sure that it will be taken care of. And the fourth step is the hardest one for everybody. That fourth step is patience. Everybody laughs at that
one. And that was one of my favorite chapters in the book, actually.
I really wrote that chapter for entrepreneurs, really, for people that are wanting to create big things in the world and people that want to make an imprint. But I wanted to give them the tools that I've used to make sure that happens, not from a place of ego, but from a place of alignment.
I love that so much. What if instead of pushing through fear, we acknowledged it, we let it be there, and we took action anyway? Knowing that fear is just a sign that we are growing, that we are challenging ourselves, that we are stepping into something bigger. What if instead of waiting for everything to align itself before we show up, we allowed ourselves to step forward as we are, the imperfect, learning, still growing version of ourselves? Because if there's one thing that we've learned from these incredible women today, it's this. Success doesn't come from waiting. It doesn't come from sitting on the sidelines hoping for the right moment. It comes from choosing to believe in yourself and what you can create. From trusting that the steps that you take today, no matter how small, are leading you where you need to go. So as we close out this episode, I want you to take a moment to think about your next step. What is the thing that you've been holding off on until you're ready? How could you take action on that today? Because your future business, your future success, your future self, they are waiting on you to take that step. And with that, my dear friend, we wrap up this special episode. Again, I want to thank you for listening in, and I can't wait to bring even more stories of incredible business owners to you in the future. Now, we have a secret bonus for tuning in today. We are giving away a HomePod Mini to celebrate episode 300, and you can enter now to win. To get in the running, you just need to leave a review for the HerBusiness Podcast, this show, and that review can be on this episode or any of your favorite episodes if you're a regular listener. And the details for how to enter are in the show notes for this episode. We have so many resources like this show, like our other podcasts, like the trainings that we do, like the resources and downloads we have. We have so many resources inside the HerBusiness Network. And so if you'd like to be part of a community of women business owners who are dedicated to growing their businesses and developing lives that they love, I encourage you to grab a spot on the HerBusiness Network waitlist now. Of course, if you are one of our members, I love you. Thank you for being here. I'm going to put a link in our show notes where you can join the HerBusiness Network waitlist, or you can head over to herbusinessnetwork.com. Now, we aren't open to new members currently, but getting on the waitlist means that you'll be the first to know when we open up spots, which we do periodically throughout the year. And we have so many resources for women business owners, including live strategy sessions, networking events, masterclasses. But more than that, we have a place where you can learn and grow, and you can be surrounded by women who are powerful, women like you've heard here today, women who are really going for it, but they're building lives that are not burning them out. They're having the income they want, the impact they want, the results they want without working harder. So over at herbusiness.com/300, you're going to find a summary of what we've covered today and links to all the beautiful guests that we've had here today and the other resources that we've talked about. I want to thank you so much for joining me. If you love this episode, leave us a rating or review. When you do that right now, during our competition time, of course, you're in the running to win the HomePod Mini. And anytime you want to reach out to me, the best place to do that is at HerBusiness on Instagram, or you can shoot me a message at podcast@herbusiness.com. If you're new to the show, be sure to hit subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, you know what to do. Join me next time right here on the HerBusiness Podcast. Thank you to all my guests, and bye for now.